Hello students, this is the last video on the English 110 research project. This video deals with part 3 of the project. So, the last section of the research project, part 3, is where you can finally share your thoughts about Coates' essay, its ideas, and what you feel about everything that you have learned while researching and working on this project. This is a section where you should think reflectively, look over all of the work that you have done in completing this project, and really think about what you have learned and what is important to you. What will you take away from Coates' ideas and the work that you have done in the project? This section is composed of a one-page mini essay that explains whether or not you believe Coates' idea about the case for reparations and how the research you did informs that thought. It does not matter if you believe Coates' ideas, but you should justify your thoughts and opinions on the case for reparations by referencing all the work you have done throughout the project. You do not need to cite any of the previous information, but you may do so if you feel it will help you make your point. This should be a short section, but remember that it is still a formal section with a thesis statement and a perfectly constructed pie paragraph system. So overall, what should be in this mini essay? What should be in part 3 of your research project? You should have at least 2 paragraphs. One will function as an introduction. The other will function as a sort of evidence body paragraph. In your introduction, the first thing you should do is describe to me all of the work you've done throughout this project. This project is a lot of work. Take some time and tell me about it. Talk to me about how you spent time maybe rereading Coates' essay, or how you searched for your research, or issues or problems or thoughts that came up as you were writing sections 1 and 2. This is a chance for you to tell me all of the work that you have done to complete this project. It's the chance for you to brag a little bit. So after you've done that, the last sentence of your introduction should be where you state whether or not you believe that Coates has made a case for reparations. So that's your introduction. That's your first paragraph. Your next paragraph should have our point, illustration, explanation system. If you want to see that detailed, watch video 2 on part 2 of the research project. So in your second paragraph of the Do You Believe section of the research project, this paragraph's point should be one thing, one idea, one element that you learned from doing this project and why it's important to you. So if you had to select one key concept that you feel really important about or have learned about from reading Coates' essay and doing your research, this would be your point in paragraph 2. Next, your illustration. You would either describe or maybe quote, depending on your perspective, this idea. Or whatever the most important idea is, your illustration is you telling me or quoting what that is. Next, our final step is the explanation. As always, the explanation has a 2-step process where you tell me what is important and how it connects to your point. Remember, every explanation will have that. So you would tell me what's the most central thing about this idea that you learned about and why it's important to you. Why this idea speaks to you as a reader and researcher. So, as we said in the introduction, describe your work, tell me what you did, tell me how you wrote the paper, tell me all the time you spent working on it, and then 2, explain to me if you believe Coates has made an effective case for reparations. Make sure to state whether or not you believe he has done so. Don't forget to say why you feel he either succeeded or failed in making a compelling argument for reparations. Next, as we talked about, your second paragraph, your body paragraph of part 3 should have a point, illustration, evidence, where you will tell me one key idea for you. It can be whatever idea you choose that is important. You will describe or possibly quote this, and then you will explain to me what is the most important thing about this idea and how it is important and why it's important to you. So that's the breakdown of what should go in part 3 of the research project. Now, just a few key things to remember, some general tips as you finish up part 3 of the research paper. Remember that this is a formal assignment, so you should have correct and clear sentences. Don't simply talk about your feelings and thoughts. Make sure you can connect your opinion, feeling, and ideas to an idea you learned while reading and researching the case for reparations. So this isn't a personal story or maybe your own experiences or history. You would want to tie all of your thoughts back to an idea that you learned. Next, remember, this is a reflective part of the paper where you will reflect and think about everything that you've learned. And also, if you do decide to quote or summarize an idea from Coates or your research, make sure that you, as always, are using an MLA in-text citation. So let's look at some last bits and bobs for the research project, including a discussion of the works cited page. Before we get to that, please remember, in both part 1, where you are summarizing, and part 2, where you are quoting, any sentence that contains an idea that is not 100% yours needs an in-text citation at the end of that sentence. Every single one. We, of course, have gone over this throughout the year. Here on this PowerPoint page are some examples of how you use that parenthetical, the parentheses citation. And since many of you might find a source that is found only online, you found it online, you may not have page numbers. That's totally fine. If you don't have page numbers, make sure that you are still using the name in the in-text citation, the author's last name. So if you don't have page numbers, just make sure you are using the last name. Now, throughout this course, I have stressed that you should use MLA in-text citation, parenthetical in-text citation consistently and repeatedly. And the reason for that is that if you are doing that, you can avoid plagiarism. Right? Plagiarism is a serious issue in terms of academic ethics and academic honesty. Right? An instance of plagiarism on this assignment may result in an F for this assignment, which, due to the worth of this assignment, would almost make it mathematically impossible for you to get a C overall in the course. So that's why you want to get in the habit of using an in-text citation for every sentence that contains an idea that is not yours. Remember, it doesn't matter if you put it into your own words, it's all about the ideas. Additionally, as you move forward with your college career, if you are diligent in using in-text citation after every sentence, you will be able to avoid plagiarism accounts in the future. According to the rules of the college, a professor can choose to fail you for the entire course on one instance of plagiarism. So it's very important that you practice ethical documentation and attribution of your work. So, one more time, right? You should use MLA in-text citations in every sentence of the summary in which you are summarizing an idea of what you have read, every sentence where you quote, and you should practice this habit in every class you take in college from this point on. It is very important that you start to develop ethical forms of attribution so that your work can be respected and you'll be honest and forthright in all of the writing that you do in your college career. You may find this PowerPoint on Blackboard where you can follow these videos and websites that will give you more information about in-text citation if you are still unfamiliar or unaware with the concept. Do not forget on Blackboard, you can find in our weekly unit folders the research paper template, right? Remember that you must use this template to turn in the project, okay? If you have any problems finding this template or have any questions, please make sure to contact me via email. Finally, let's talk about the works cited page, right? For this project, since you have found 2 outside sources, you are required to have 2 works cited entries for both of those sources. Works cited pages are where you document all of the sources you use for writing papers. It's essentially a list so that your professor can cross-reference your in-text citations with the list of sources you used to help create a paper. Here is an example of what a works cited page might look like, right? Couple things to note that will help your works cited page be correct. 1, works cited pages should be done alphabetically by author's last name, all right? Now, if you have a text in the future that does not have an author, then you would do this from the title of the text, right? Luckily for you, in English 110, any source that you used, you're required to have an author, right? And then note, you will always indent the second line of any entry. So if this goes past 1 line, you should always indent it. So here's an example of how a works cited page should look. In the template, if you open up the template for the research project, I have given you a YouTube video on how to put together a works cited page, as well as a link to the Purdue OWL that will help walk you through how a works cited page should go. And I've also done you the favor of providing you the works cited entry for Ta-Nehisi Coates' essay. So you're only responsible for the 2 sources you found on your own. This is the last video on the structure and writing of the English 110 research project. Good luck, and I believe in you.